Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced, and I want to talk about mutation. Because what happens is that when you pass in like a parameter such as a number, and then you manipulate it in the function, the number doesn't change. But when you pass in an object or an array, there's a possibility that you mutate the object or the array. And it's like, why does it behave this way versus that way? So let me illustrate that. Okay, so let's say here, const, we have the number 5. Const my var equals 5. This is the number 5. And then I'm going to create a function, my func, which equals, I'm going to pass it a number, and it's going to return the number plus 5. Plus 5. Cool. Okay, and then that's num plus 5, not number plus 5. So let's do this. So let's say const my var2 equals my func num. Okie dokie. Cool. Let's hit save. And let's say if I even did this, well, actually, this will keep it there for a second. Hit save, and then I want to console log both variables. Console log my var and my var 2. Oh, syntax errors. Let's see here. Num is not defined. Oh, because I put that there. My var. You can tell I just woke up. Okay, 7, 5, and 10. So you see, the original my var is still 5, and this new variable is my var 10. And just to take it one step further, what if I try to reassign it via the parameter? So if I go num equals 6 here, okay? So would that change my var? Because technically I'm passing in my var. It does not. It does affect the outcome. So so num becomes 6, and then it becomes 6 plus 5, which is 11. But again, that doesn't mutate the original 5. Okay? So that's exhibit 1. So basically, when you pass in a number, whenever you're taking look at primitive values, so that's numbers, strings, booleans, it just passes it in by copy. Okay, so basically what you're doing is in the parameter you're passing in a copy, because the variable is a copy, because you're dealing with the actual value. And this is an important distinction to understand between like objects, arrays versus all the other types of values. Okay, so let's play with that for a second. Let's see what happens if I were to use an array. Okay, so my var will say is an array with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it can be a multi-dimensional array. Why not? Okay. Just to keep it simple, I'll get rid of the second inner array. Just put a comma here. Okay. So you have this array. So now what the function is going to do is that it's going to say, now we're passing in the array as our parameter. So this, we're going to change to R so that way you can tell what I'm talking about. R, and then we'll come back to this. Return R. And we'll just say this, what this does, it's going to say array 0 equals 9. Okay, so now array, the first index in the array equals 9. But again, I'm not calling my var, I'm calling my parameter. Okay, so when we did it with a number, it changed the number within the function because there's a copy of the variable that's scoped inside the function. So it only exists inside the function. But this array is going to behave differently, as you'll see in a moment. So my var2 is going to equal that, and then let's see what happens when we console log both. So in this situation, look, we did alter the array. The array says 9. 1, 2, 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this is just 9, 2, 3, 4, 5. So why did it behave differently? Why, when I mutate my parameters in a function where an array is the parameter, does it actually mutate the original versus a number? Because again, it's making a copy, but when you're talking about arrays and objects, you're not making a copy of the array. Because technically what you're storing here in my var is not the array itself. What you're storing is a reference to where it's located in memory. Okay? So yes, this is a copy of the location of the array, but the location hasn't changed. So when you do this, it's actually altering the actual array that's in that location, that address book. So objects and arrays are really more like the actual variable, the actual data underneath. It's an address. It's an address book to where your array or object exists in the memory. So a copy of the same address is the same address. So it's still going to go back and manipulate that data. And that's a really important thing to understand when it comes to objects and arrays. That when you assign the variable and you play with the variable, so that's why I can actually manipulate the array even if I assigned it as const, because I'm not manipulating the address that's stored in there. I'm just manipulating the data that's stored at that address, which isn't what's in here. So it just has to do with what's going on under the hood in JavaScript. So the reason why that's important is because it means you can manipulate the data, and this is why working with objects and making video games, you can actually sit there and say, hey, I pass in this object as a parameter and alter that actual object. Now, what if I didn't want to? What if I want those values, but I don't want to manipulate that array? Well, what you need to do is create a duplicate copy of those values. So what you would need to do is first create like a new array first. So we'll do const. And then the way JavaScript knows that it needs to create a new address is the curly brackets. So the minute you see it says equal curly brackets, it knows, oh, okay, we're creating a new array location. Now, but I want it to have the same information that I have here. So what I can do is that this is where the spread operator shines. I did ... r. So what this does, it takes all the values, not the reference, not the address, but takes all the values in this array and spreads them inside these brackets. So it becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now if I do new array 0 equals 9, save, it'll alter this new array. But again, this array is not a reference because I use a spread operator to create an absolutely new array. Okay, so hit save. And there you, oh no, because I didn't return new array. That's right. New array. And there you go. See, this one gets changed, but this one did not like before. But I bet you're thinking, it's like, couldn't I just do this? New array equals r. This won't work either, because technically when you say one array equals another array, you're not saying they equal the values, you're saying they equal the address. It's not making a new address, it's just copying the address. So watch what happens, it still changes it. Okay, so that's one really useful way of using the spread operator. Yay for spread operator. I mean, you could also do something like new array and put in those values. I just think the spread operator looks nicer. But that's an important concept to understand when you're building functions that use arrays and objects. And this is the same thing with objects, okay? So if I were to make the above an object, it's the same thing. It's unless you see new curly brackets, it doesn't make a new address. So then you're still referencing the same data that's bundled somewhere in your computer's memory. So as long as you're aware of that, I mean, the behavior, a lot of functions and classes and whatnot makes a lot more sense. So always think about it when you're storing multiple values in something in JavaScript, the variable is actually a reference to where that information is located versus the actual information. So enjoy. I'll see you guys later on. Have a great one. Enjoy.